How's it, guys? And welcome to another episode of the PH Journals podcast. Man, what a week! It's been really an incredible week. Uh, I'll get more into that a little bit later. But yeah, so guys, this week's Sunday topic we're going to discuss, and hopefully my idea behind this, and a big shout out to Martinos, I think I'm saying it correctly, from Canada. Unfortunately, I won't be able to tag him in this because I'm not sure about the legal implications there. But we had a nice long discussion about certain things as far as trophy hunting is concerned, what's deemed a trophy, what's deemed management game, and all that sort of stuff in South Africa. And a lot of interesting topics came out of it. A lot of interesting points were raised. So yeah, basically what I want to do is just get out there and, let's just have a conversation and just see the way going forward from this. So, cool, guys. So, before we get into it, obviously, without these people, none of this would ever be possible. So, firstly, just got to give a big shout out to Trees and Camo. I'll talk about it a little bit later, about my hunting, my first little bow episodes going around. I've had so much fun with these guys, and Treason have really pulled up all the stops as far as hunting in South Africa is concerned. They really have delivered a quality camo, and hunting animals from a distance with the rifle and stuff. You try and not let your camos have too much influence on it, but when it comes down to bow hunting, they play a huge role in it. So Treason have really developed some amazing gear, and I'm so proud to be a part of the team. Yeah, just fantastic on my darker hunt, and they performed outstandingly yesterday on my Impala hunt. But I'll get into that a little bit later. So a big shout out to Trees and Camo. Secondly, Maxxis tires. I've got the Maxxis razors, the MT mining application on my bucky, and yes, I've just clicked over now. I'm on about 60,000 Ks on them, kilometers, and they look almost brand new. They've been performing outstandingly in the bush. I'm really happy with them. Nice and quiet and comfortable on the road, but the minute you get out into the bush, they just do their job, and fantastic tire. Then big shout out to Banana Skins. Like I said, they've been my second base layer now for some time. I really enjoy them. I used the Banana Skin ski pants yesterday, and I mean, I can walk with those for hours and hours and hours upon end. So yeah, big shout out to Banana Skins. Then also another, I haven't mentioned them in my previous podcast episodes, but they're playing a huge role in myself and developing my platforms and my social media experiences and stuff. So a big shout out to Tacticam. I'm probably one of the first that have got their product in the country, and it's been an incredible product. And why more people don't have them is a little bit obscure to me, especially here in South Africa, with the FTS application where you can mount it onto your rifle scopes, the stabilizer for your bow. They just cover all the bases, and it's really fantastic to see, and they're an outstanding product. So yeah, big shout out to Tacticam. I will be using them a lot more now in the future. I've got my setup just right for bow and for rifle, and now you can find them on PH Toolbox. So as well, they'll be on there. Then yeah, so which brings me to my next point. PH Toolbox, ladies and gentlemen, we launched on Friday. The story behind PH Toolbox is I got hold of a couple of my mates during the lockdown period, and we were just so stumped with what we could do to keep the bills paid during a pandemic, during a period where no overseas guests could come. We couldn't even hunt local guys at that stage, and we were a little bit unsure of where our next paycheck was going to come. So we designed this website behind it with the intent that our fellow PHs can subscribe through the PH program, and while promoting some of the products we use in the bush and we sell online, they can earn a little bit of extra income through the commission program, PH program. So that's what we did. It finally launched on Friday. We've been developing it for some time, trying to find the correct suppliers. Obviously, guys that we believe in, products that we believe in, products that we've tried and tested ourselves in the bush. Because obviously, we don't want to create this platform and most of the stuff is not ideal. So we've tried and tested it. We've put it through the task and it stands up. And when it stands up, we put it onto the website. So we've got a bunch of cool things out there. We've got rings made from buffalo horn, from tusks, from those are warthog tusks, by the way. Fellow deer antlers, bones of giraffe. We've got some cool handcrafted knives from Uncle Eric Bacher himself. And yeah, we're just going to keep developing. You can get some of my PH Journals merchandise on there. And the more we develop, the more we go ahead with it, the better it's going to be. So, yeah, big shout out now to PH Toolbox. If you haven't yet, head along to the website, it's phtoolbox.co.za, and you can search all the pretty cool things there. We are developing. This is early stages, so there's very minimal stuff on there. But as we grow, as we get more suppliers on board of products that we use, we'll keep putting them on. So yeah, big shout out to PH Toolbox. Then yeah, last but not least, my family, my wife, my daughter, my brother, and my mom. I just want to say thank you so much for having the faith in me, the belief in me, and just supporting me through this long, painful, and awesome experience in the same time. So I just want to say thank you so much for supporting me on this. It really means a lot to me, and none of this would ever be possible without you guys. So I really, really appreciate it. So without further ado, this will be episode 3 of the Sunday discussions. And if you've tuned in on Spotify, welcome, guys. Finally, I've got the Spotify up and running. I'm pretty stoked about that. It's an awesome platform. I've just upgraded my subscription to them, and yeah, I'm so stoked to be a part of the Spotify group. So yeah, big shout out to you guys. So without further ado, guys, episode 3 of Sunday Discussion, we're going to be talking about trophies. Hey guys, okay, cool. So finally, a little bit of a topic that I can relate quite a bit to, and it's one that I have seen over the past being brought up and not quite known the correct way to answer. Cool, so I'm going to break it down into 2 sections. Look, as far as I'm concerned, trophy hunting and hunting is probably the best conservation tool we have at the moment. And the important part of it is obviously the overseas income. Cool. So Martinos asked me what is deemed a trophy and what is not deemed a trophy. Now, the old saying within the market and the industry is trophies are the eye of the beholder. For me, that is 100% true. I've always believed in that, and I think it's the best way to approach the situation, because animals, like humans, have just got perfect or different characteristics, and your idea of a good-looking animal is completely different to mine. So the story about the tape measure and the big animals and all that sort of stuff is, for me, it takes away the gist of the actual, the beauty of the animal. And it's not ideal, but there is a place for it in the market, and we've created that. And so, yeah, I mean, to answer the question simply, what is deemed a trophy? Well, if you go into pretty much all the websites, there is a cool app now for the South Africans that if you go into, and it will tell you what's Roland Award, what's SCI Award, and you can pretty much judge it from there. If it's making the minimum requirements, that's going to be a trophy. But there are some very good animals out there with magnificent representations of the specific animal, and they don't quite make the measuring tape. It doesn't mean to say that it's not a trophy. If it's, in my opinion, if it's an old, mature animal and it's a good representation, on a kudu if it's got all the turns, on an impala if it's flaring out, on an inyala if it's straight up and it's got the beautiful bell, all those sort of small characteristics, the more you hunt, the more you get to understand them. They all part of this trophy hunting idea. And again, as far as a hunter and as far as a professional hunter is concerned, you obligated, it's your duty to shoot, to hunt the most mature or the oldest in the group animal if you're doing it for conservation, if you're doing it to protect the species, and if you're doing it for the right idea in mind. You want to harvest what is the oldest, what is going to ultimately fill the freezer. And number two, it's a difficult one for me because I know there's a lot of guys out there that are, and as I'm saying this, I'm thinking it, they're going to say, oh no, but we've got to manage the herds and all that sort of stuff. That's 100% true, and there is a market, or there is a place in it for that. And I do it. I do go out there on herd management, and it doesn't always, they aren't always the oldest, they aren't always past their prime and all that sort of stuff. But as far as an overseas hunter coming into the country, and they're coming here for a trophy, you want to shoot. I don't like using the word harvest because it makes it sound like a meat factory type thing. I don't like it, sorry. But you want to shoot, you want to hunt a good representation. An animal past its prime, an animal that's old, that's done its job, that's got a good gene. You want to do all those sort of things. And that's where I think difference is on culling, trophy, and herd management is. So yeah, guys, basically herd management, quickly, just to touch on it, is basically managing your herd so you got the best possible genetics out there. Now, this doesn't always have to mean it's got the best long horns or whatever. It just also means that it's got the best quality of survival. You do get a lot of animals that are out there in the bush that don't adapt quick enough to certain conditions. For instance, I'll spring back down in Fort Beaufort area where there's a lot of hot water. There's only a few that can actually handle it. So you don't really want the rams that can't handle those conditions to be mating with your females that have adapted to it. So that's herd management. Culling is controlling the numbers. And then trophy hunting is, of course, shooting out the old, mature, good representation animal. So that's my take on it. That's where I'm going to label it there. I've been on a lot of safaris where the tape has ruined it. Personally, and this goes back from the older generations, one of my first hunts, I was kitted, had a nice little pack full of all the tools, all the gadgets, tape measures and verniers and all that sort of stuff. I was going to hit the ground running. And one of the older guys, one of the older PHs that I really look up to, and I've taken a lot still to this day, he came to me and he said, yeah, what you going to do with all this stuff? So, I said, no, well, it's to measure the trophies once the animals have been shot and, to tag them correctly and this, that, and the next thing. He says, you see that tape measure inside there? It's going to ruin your PHing days for a very long time. Take it and put it in the fire. And, young, dumb, and arrogant at the time. I said, well, what do I have to lose, And I kept it in there, and the list of animals I was after and I was shooting just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And then we needed a certain measurement here. We needed a certain measurement there. And I really didn't enjoy it, because you have a magnificent hunt and then your client just gets tape measure happy. He just wants the biggest. Spent all this money coming over here. Why does he need to settle for an average? And I think that's where I learned, it took away the experience of actually hunting an animal. It really did. All the hard work we put in, all the stalks, climbing mountains, our conversations under the tree, drinking on our water while we wait, and the kilometers we walked, it put a dampener on all of that. Although there were beautiful moments, it really put a dampener on it, because, we forgot about that and we were chasing after measurements. So when a nice mature springback ram came into our sights and came into our range, we weren't pulling the trigger because it wasn't quite big enough. And although he was mature, he had the shape, well past his prime, we chased it all for the wrong reasons. And so, to answer the question on measuring trophies and stuff, guys, if you really want to have a memorable time out in South Africa and you really want to enjoy the experience, don't worry about the tape measure. Trust your pH. And this is where I say, a lot of the time when guys come out to South Africa, they always want the biggest buffalo. You need to trust your pH. And for us PHs, it's an achievement if you go out there and you get a good looking animal and you get a good sized animal and stuff. It really is an achievement. But over the time, I also pick it up, and a lot of the younger PHs, they just want to go out there and shoot the biggest, they want 44-inch buffalo and all that sort of stuff. Not the hard dugger bull that's broken his tip because of fighting and countless battles. And, for me, that's what it's about. Mine's not about shooting the biggest. It's about the storytelling. It's about sharing moments, sharing experiences, and just treasuring the life that animal has lived. And now you get to tell the story, afterwards. So, it's trophy hunting to me. And I blame the younger generation. It's gone past storytelling. It's gone past experience. It's just now about harvesting and shooting the biggest. So we need to change our perspective, and it starts with us as PHs. We need to change the perspective of actual trophy hunting, and actually just understand that a lot of these guys are coming over to Africa for experience, to share memories, to make lifelong memories, and it's you're obligated to make sure that happens, and you're obligated to make sure that they share this magnificent country with us as well as our animals, and understand the significance of trophy hunting and herd management and all that sort of stuff. So guys, like I said, I wanted to break this up in two parts. That's a measuring side, and that's how you justify, from my personal experience, what a trophy is, and or how it looks, or how you want it to look. But so just some stats, just to back up my last two conversations on Sunday, with regards to the giraffe and the land. In South Africa since 2013, and I'm going to refer back to the figures of 2013, is because this was before the Trump era. A lot of stuff has happened since Donald Trump has taken over, and for our industry for the better. So I'm not going to give those figures. I'm going to give the 2013 figures, and I just feel they're not, I'm not going to say a true reflection, but I just feel that they're the best suited figures for if you're trying to persuade anyone whether trophy hunting is good or bad, because most of the economy in South Africa and America weren't at its peak. We both had leaders that were, our president was trying to steal our country dry. And overseas, they were trying to enforce gun laws and all that sort of stuff. So 2012, 2013 weren't the greatest years as far as hunting industry in South Africa was concerned. So I'm going to give you guys those figures. You can imagine now it's way better. And of course, Trump has had a really positive influence, whether you like him or not. I don't want to get into that debate, but whether you like him or not, he has really delivered from an South African tourism, as far as the hunting industry is concerned, delivered all the goods, and we've benefited tremendously from that. So in 2013, South Africa had over 20 million head of game. That is national and privately owned land. 60 million of that 20 million was private landowners. So, i.e. hunting concessions, mostly of. There's over 2,000 recorded outfitters out there in South Africa at the moment, which is crazy to see because that number is just mind-blowing at the moment. And through trophy hunting, only 0.02% head of game were taken off per year. So that's interesting. So, for instance, we only had, I think it was just over 7,000 hunters come into the country, and 44,000 trophies were taken back. That's where the 0.02% of game has gone. That's just trophy hunting. So if your argument ever comes up and says, oh, well, what good is trophy? It's not doing any bad. I mean, we've got over 20 million head of game, and we're only taking 44,000 off for trophies. So put those two in perspective, it's really not a lot. And that, hence, the culling and the game and the herd management come in. And you've got to take all those factors into consideration. So, yeah, guys, I got my stats from a very good source. I love their write-ups, and I would encourage you guys to go ahead and have a look at their website. It's Wildlife Ranching of South Africa, the WRSA. They've got some really cool write-ups there. I see they just released one as far as rhino poaching and elephant conservation and all that sort of stuff. So they've got some really cool articles there. I love that website. And yeah, so that's where all my stats come from. You'll actually see them on there. And I mean, just the hunting industry alone generates over R1 billion worth of income. And to break that R1 billion down, let me just see. So to break that R1 billion down, you, like we mentioned earlier in the previous sessions with the land, where you get private land as far as conservancies, so beef farmers, sheep farmers or whatever being part of the conservancy but still being able to hunt. Part of that, 757 million rand goes towards it. So that's way more than 50% of the actual income from overseas goes towards these landowners. And that's a very big thank you to the hunting industry, because then the rest go to the outfitters for their daily rates and all that. So yeah, guys, that in a nutshell, to close everything off as far as trophy hunting is concerned. Our hunting has definitely proven over the years that it's the best form of conservation there is. Because if we don't have hunting, none of these numbers are ever going to be controlled, and they're just going to get out of hand. And yeah, it's been a hell of a journey. From where, reading on some of the stats from the years from in the early 90s to where we are now. I mean, just our animals are growing at 30%. We're having 30% more animals per year in this country. And that's all thanks to hunting and conservation. And trophy hunting plays a huge role in that. It's feeding families. So like I said in the giraffe episode, we need to be honest and we need to tell truth and fact that not all meat goes to the community. But I can almost guarantee you that 100% of most of the communities around hunting lodges and stuff all benefit off of hunting, whether it be a financial support, meat support, and that's a fantastic thing. So you take away hunting, you're taking away all of that. And, you know, when you sit with a situation like Kenya, for example, and you're relying just off photography and all of that, and you take away the hunting industry, you can't double up on your numbers. You can't employ more people because you don't need more people to be employed because you're just taking photos. So the skinners, the trackers, all of that sort of stuff falls away, and there's no need for you to want to keep growing your herds, looking after your animals. I had a figure here just from the late 2000s, so we're talking about 2009, 2010, there were only 9,000 sable recorded in South Africa. Now, sable obviously were brought down from north into South Africa, and obviously with the growing demand, more and more sable have been bred, top quality sable have been bred, and more game farmers are housing sable. So, and now we're sitting on just over 100,000 head of sable. It's probably more than that now, but back then, that's how well the numbers have grown. So, guys, you know, and we're all doing this because of a demand for hunting, and yeah, I mean that's what it boils down to. And I'm super proud of it that I will be able to put my daughter in a vehicle and drive 20 minutes and go and be able to see a sable bull, to see a couple of rhino, to see a roan antelope, to see all these wonderful things thanks to hunting. Because if the demand for these animals aren't there, there's no need for these farmers to keep them. And when they're not keeping them, the numbers are just going to dwindle. So I don't want to stretch on that too much. That's just my take on it as far as trophies are concerned, and I definitely think there's a place for trophy hunting, and it's not what people perceive. And whether I think it's been done right or not, it's a different discussion. But as a professional hunter, as an ethical hunter, we are obligated in South Africa to do things the correct way because it's morally correct, and I think it benefits everybody at the end of the day. So we need to get out of our heads as the youngsters coming through. You don't always have to shoot the biggest animal. The one who can tell the best story around the campfire wins. And it's actually not a competition, but for me, that's how I see it. Somebody that can tell a story over and over and over again with the same amount of excitement that he had when he experienced it himself, you know you're doing your job right. And for me, it's creating experience, it's creating memories on animals and wildlife that I love so much. And for me to be able to share that with friends, families that come out and pay money to do that with me, it's something very, very special, and it's awesome to be a part of. Yeah, so guys, that brings the end of our Sunday discussion on trophies. I just want to tell you guys a little quick story, 2 stories actually now after yesterday. So I've been bow hunting for quite a while now, and I've never really shot an animal. I've never had the opportunity to, although they have come. I've never really had enough confidence in myself to hunt. So the 2 weeks ago, I went out with my very good friend, and we've spent a lot of hunts together, and we've shared a lot of great memories. From playing rugby to shooting blue wildebeest to now sharing first animals. I mean, the season's been incredible with myself and Pouch. He shot his first waterbuck. I got my first bontebok. I got my first kill with a bow, and now I've got my first 2 species with a bow. So the first one was pretty cool. We went out and we sat in a blind, and this beautiful darker came in. You could see his condition was deteriorating. Old, secondary growth, beautiful darker. I sussed him out. I thought maybe he would just tip off at about 5 inches. And I said to Barch, look, I've never shot one. As a first animal with a bow, he's a small target. I've heard they string jump a bit, or they duck under a string quite a lot. It's one of the most difficult animals to shoot with a bow. I said, look, I'm confident, but I'm not that confident yet. So let's just wait it out, and maybe something bigger comes in, like a springbuck, blessbuck, or something like that. And he came in and he just sat around, and your opportunity is there for your first shot. And I took it. I drew back and I had him in the sights. And I don't know why, but I think maybe just the anxiety got the best of me. I used my bottom pin, the highest pin on for the longest shot, and I just duffed it completely. And I thought I hit him far back, but fortunately I had the camera there, and when we re-looked at the footage, I missed him completely. Shot about 4 feet over him. So not the proudest moment, especially as a PH. That's not the best situation you want to be in, missing your first target, But so we sat again, and it was cold. It was so cold. We had snow on the ground the night before. Man, the chill just got in anyway. Thanks to Treason for the soft shell jacket. I mean, it really held off the cold pretty well. And but I mean, everywhere, your ears, your neck, you were just getting so chilly. So it was about. We said, no, we'll sit in here for another 45 minutes and see. And I was just about to get out and go and stretch my legs a bit, and when Bachi tapped me on the shoulder and he said, look, that dark is back. And you can see him from a different angle. The horn, the secondary growth, he's got a lot of chipping and chunking out of it, which means he's been in a lot of fights. I sussed him out. I probably thought maybe he would make it to the end of the season, but definitely not next season. So it was a great animal to take. Anyway, it came into exactly the same spot, exactly the same distance, but this time I put it on my top dot, and flung the arrow. And fortunately, I didn't anticipate the string jump at the time, but fortunately it was a little bit low, so as he ducked into it, it clipped the vitals and it smacked him right in the shoulder. So I was pretty pumped, and man, what a beautiful animal. A really, really beautiful animal. He was probably about 9 years old. Really deteriorating body condition. I mean, he weighed almost nothing. He really was struggling, and definitely one of the top trophies that I would have loved to take as far as the dark is concerned. So so stoked about that. And then yesterday I sat in the blind for about 3 hours, watched a couple of movies, and nothing came in. Just absolutely nothing. It was chilly yesterday. It was about 12 degrees, about 40 Fahrenheit. It really was chilly, and I decided, well, I'm going to go for a walk. So I grabbed my bow. Unfortunately, I had to leave the camera equipment behind because I was all by myself on this hunt. And I must have walked about 3 or 4 miles, managed to get to a nice shaded spot. I backed down into a tree just to get out of the chill a bit. Felt like I was getting a bit of wind burn on my face. And in the distance, I could see a bit of movement. and was getting closer and closer and closer. And for some strange reason, the impala seemed like they in rut a little bit later this year. And I heard a bit of barking, and I knew straight away that's impala. And I just sat quietly. And as the females came closer, I didn't see a male. I was going to take a female, and they came within to about 20 yards of me. And the first female passed, and I said, "No, well, she seems very pregnant, heavily pregnant." The next one came. She also seemed very, very pregnant. And then the third one came, and I was like, "Well, she doesn't seem old. Maybe she's just young. She's not ready to take yet." No, I'm not in desperate need of meat that much. And then next thing, out of nowhere, almost like that misty movie that you see where out of the mist comes this strapping ram, and he came obviously sniffing the beyond of this younger female, and he stepped into sight, and I drew, and obviously with a bit of my movement he caught his eye, and he turned back and he looked at me, and I just held still because I wasn't in place yet. And then as he turned his head, I lifted my bow, got into position, and that obviously caught his eye again, turned and looked at me, and I released the arrow. Perfect shot, straight through the shoulder. He ran about 30 yards. Funny thing is, it was a great shot, lots of blood, but my tracking skills were a bit rusty. I got to about 10 yards of the carcass, and I lost the blood trail, and I couldn't find this thing anywhere. I mean, the grass is nice and long. There's lots of trees, and I was starting to get a bit dark now. I was starting to get worried, that I'm not going to find him. And so I realized at that stage my tracking skills were a bit rusty, because either I've been lucky, I haven't had to track a lot, or I need a bit of work. But eventually I find him. Man, what a beautiful animal. Oh, magnificent. And that's the cool thing about bow hunting. Like I said, I've practiced. I mean, a good friend of mine, old Dave, he left the bow behind for my tracker, and my tracker ran into some financial difficulties, and we were actually shooting bow together. And he said, "Look, I want you to have this because I've helped him out quite a bit financially as far as food and stuff's concerned." So I took it, and I used the opportunity to keep practicing, and just hoping one day. And now the opportunities have come a lot. So I've been very fortunate, and a big shout out to Hunters Hill and Graham Pullman for these two amazing experiences. And I feel so blessed, and I'm so privileged to have shared these experiences with a good friend of mine. And unfortunately yesterday it was all by myself, but something I'll keep in memory bank for a very, very long time. And so just bow hunting has changed my perspective of animal understanding, animal behavior completely. You're getting up close with these animals, and you're progressing as a hunter, and it's good. It's great. It's great to experience both sides of the spectrum, rifle and bow hunting. And man, it's the start of a beautiful journey, and I can't wait to share it with you guys. Well, guys, that brings an end to my Sunday discussion. I hope this was helpful. If I have left out any key things, please hit me up in the messages. I did leave a couple out last week, and I promised I would say them this episode, but I've run out of time now, so I will bring them up again. But yeah, just again, guys, as hunters, we are obligated, and it's our duty to make sure we do things ethically and morally correct. So just keep that in mind when you're out there, especially for the youngsters of today. Don't do things beyond the book. It's not worth it in the long run. And just stay grounded. The opportunities always come up, and don't be tempted into anything that doesn't seem right. Let me put it that way. So guys, from myself at PH Journals, thank you all for sharing a wonderful moment with me over the past couple of weeks, and especially on Friday when I launched my very own website, e-commerce business. We are shipping worldwide. I forgot to mention that earlier. So don't be scared. If you want to go on there, hit me up. If you're not sure how things work, I'll be on many platforms: WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, wherever the case may be. So yeah, big shout out to everyone that supported me thus far. Thank you so much. I mean, I love getting the comments, I love getting the messages, and I do try and respond to them as best as possible. So thanks again for a wonderful journey together. Cool, guys. Well, until next time, this is it from our Sunday discussion. Have a blessed Sunday. I hope everyone's staying safe. And yeah, we'll keep up with you guys soon. Have a good one. Cheers, guys.